Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. We've got a wonderful guest who has been with us once before and is absolutely amazing gentleman, the lovely Dr. Robert Berendt. Robert, good evening again, sir. How nice to see you once more.
Yeah, nice to see you and welcome all my friends to this evening.
Yes, and I know it's going to be a thoroughly interesting evening. Robert this evening is going to be talking about physical mediumship, and his focus is going to be on the possibilities of communication and the influence on matter. So a subject that we all are fairly familiar with, especially over the last few months. There's been many talks, but a slightly new angle on this. So we're looking forward to hearing and sharing with you your thoughts tonight, Robert. So over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the first question is why I'm interested in physical mediumship. First of all, you know, I have a scientific background, and at the beginning, I was a real skeptic and I was looking for proof. And there's physical mediumship, a wonderful field where you can play. And the next thing is that I found spiritualism, and in our religion, our religion is an art and science, and we give proof, and this is so interesting. We give proof of the existence of the afterlife, and there are so much ways to look at it. So I have some slides that I want to share with you, and you will see the field is huge, and I can only give a spotlight on some things that are very important for me. And I will now try if I can share my screen. Okay. Good. Well, we tried that, and
we had liftoff last night. It was wonderful.
yeah. Do you see something? No.
Not at the moment, Robert. No.
No, not at the moment. Okay.
Aha.
Good.
There we go, sir.
Do you see something?
We do indeed. The main screen now is, there we go, full screen, the title page. Hooray!
Yeah, physical mediumship, the older days. You see that this is in very interesting pictures, and many people have pictures in their head when they think about physical mediumship. And this is a very nice picture. And well, the first thing is what is physical mediumship? For me, it is the physical influence from the spirit world on matter in our world through a passive medium in an altered or trance state. We call that objective mediumship. It can be perceived and experienced by our ordinary senses, so to speak. Also, non-mediums can make this experience, and it can research and prove with our scientific methods. We come to that later. Evidential mediumship is not physical mediumship, and we call this a subjective mediumship. And healing can be physical mediumship, when physical changes take place in the body. So this is a definition I wrote here on my slide, and we go to the next one. There we see forms of physical mediumship. Normally you think about a seance, and I think most of us have seen the settings of a seance. Mostly it is in a cabinet in the dark, but also it can be without a cabinet in the light. And what then happens or could happen is a manifestation of a spirit, transfiguration, a moving of objects like tables or trumpets, direct voice, wrappings, levitation of the medium or objects, the exuding of ectoplasm with forming of faces, body parts, etc. And we have also the communication through table tipping, the Ouija board, and I call it message board. I find this is a better phrase for it. The writing table, the electronic voice, the instrumental transcommunication, the computer, the projection on surfaces, and the last is apports. Well, apports are objects that appear in a room and where before nothing of these objects could be found. Before a seance, it is normal that the medium is searched, that the room is searched, and also the sitters, to make sure that they don't bring some objects in the room. And I think the most things are clear. Just write your questions down. We have a question and answer session. If something is not clear, I will answer all your questions, no problem. Now I have some pictures for you. And first we go to the left picture in the left corner. There you see a seance with Helen Duncan. And you see there ectoplasm from her ear reaching to the table and begins to form something. On the next picture on the right, you see ectoplasm cords, and they are holding so-called trumpets. Often the spirits use these trumpets to speak. The next picture, that is a German medium, maybe you know him, it's Kai Mügge, and he is forming ectoplasm there. The next picture, there is a levitating table. We come to the second row. Again, we see Helen Duncan. There we see ectoplasm coming out of the nose on her right shoulder. The next picture is also Helen Duncan with ectoplasm out of her mouth, forming a forearm and a hand. It's captured with an infrared camera with night vision. There is a person what is manifesting in front of the cabinet. That is a session of Kai Mügge. Next, on the right, you see also on the big picture Kai Mügge with ectoplasm out of his mouth forming a hand. And the next one is energy. And when you are very interested in these pictures, I can clearly recommend the book above. It is called Seance, and the author is Shannon Taggart. It is a young lady, a photographer from New York, and she's interested since 18 years in Spiritism and has done fantastic photos also in the Arthur Findlay College. I met her when I attended at a course, Experimental Mediumship, and also in Lilydale in the USA, and she visited different physical mediums. Very interesting books, about 300 pictures and stories. We go to the left, and we see here, I think that's Warren Kaler was sitting in the cabinet and talking to his sitters in preparation to a seance. In front of him, we see some, like we say, toys. We have a trumpet and a drum and such things, what the spirits can use to make noise. The next picture, we see Arthur Conan Doyle. He is not only the inventor of Sherlock Holmes, he was very interested in Spiritism, and he traveled around the world to make his experiences, and he also wrote books. He was a good friend of Arthur Findlay, and they held seances together at the Stansted Hall. So, Lawrence, are you there? I hope so.
Sorry, yes, I am. I was muted.
Yeah, okay. I just
people wanted to do to me for a long time.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you, because I don't see you, and I hope I have a stable connection. So I move on now.
Robert,
I move on now.
Yeah, you do not have to worry. The presentation is perfect. We can see you. Okay.
Okay. We go on. Now we think of when does all this start? And I can tell you, as long as mankind exists. And the history is full of stories about physical mediumship. Also, it was often described. You can also find many examples in the Bible and also in the life of Jesus. I have a link here of a metaphysical Christian church in America, and there are some examples of the Bible of proof in the history in the 4th century in Rome. There was a man called Ammianus Marcellinus, and he described a table engraved with letters of the alphabet with the ring swing to the letters. And we have also proof from around 1100 in China. They also had such a speaking table. It's very interesting. Also, physical phenomena also described in many native people or nations or religions, like shamanism. The right picture is a lady who is in trance, and where you see some energy changes and changes in the face, such a transfiguration. I have more later. So, you see, it's as long as mankind exists, and that means it's a huge field. And I only can take some spotlights. And of course, we have to go to the Fox sisters. And I don't tell you new things when you know it's the beginning of modern spiritualism. The communication through wrappings and table work, and what driving the death and intelligent communication. And there are many stories, not only about the communication in the Fox house. There were also moving chairs and moving tables and much more going on. And it was, they had witnesses that from there, spiritualism spreads throughout the world. But it leads also to making a circus out of it, like I call it. And also we have to talk about fraud. What brings us now from USA to Paris, France. And some of you know Allan Kardec. And we can go over it because it is very important for Europe. And Allan Kardec, French philosopher and teacher, was very interested in many fields, and he dedicated his last 15 years of his life to research spiritualism. He was the first one who developed scientific methods to investigate spiritualism. He published many books, and he started studying the phenomena with which people call paranormal or supernatural. And first, he was very upset what I said about the circus that was made out of it. In Paris, they had in theaters, they had shows on stage where a table was flying and where he was telling the fortune, the future, like a fortune teller. It was a big show, but it was all fraud. And he was very upset of that. And first he was a skeptic and he wanted to reveal fraud, and very upset of the circus. After that, he became a believer. In his philosophy, the spiritual manifestations were useful to the social and moral improvement of man. And he wrote several books, like the Book of Spirit and the Book of Mediumship. And that brought him struggle with the Catholic Church, who have forbidden and burned his books, for example, in Spain, and tried to defeat him. A very good movie and adaptation of his life you can see on Netflix. It is called Kardec, and I recommend to read his books. But we can't also forget about Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini was magician, and he came in contact with spiritualism after his mother died, and he began to attend seances to contact his mother, which leads him to discover the deceptions of the mediums and to initiate his personal crusade against this fraud. We have Massimo Polidoro. He's an author, and he wrote about the friendship of Arthur Conan Doyle and Houdini. And Houdini was determined to discredit as many mediums as he could. And his knowledge of magic allowed him to find out about the tricks that was used by the spiritists. And more about the fraud and trickery, what all was possible, and you see in Wikipedia link I inserted here at the bottom. Very interesting man. So for that reason, seances are held under controlled conditions. The medium is sitting in a cabinet. The room, the medium, and the sitters are being searched. All equipment is checked. The sitters holding hand, sometimes including holding the medium. And documentation is done with the camera with thermal detect, infrared, or night sight. And in a scientific setting, movement sensors on the medium and microphones in the room are to detect the origin of the voices. We come to that later. Now I want to introduce to you a German scientific. His name is Eckhard Kruse. He works at the University of Heidelberg. And he has interesting 7 principles, 7 reasons to research physical mediumship, even if you think it's all nonsense. Physical mediumship is an important subject for science. The research on physical mediumship is a perfect showcase to discuss today's scientific methods, their shortcomings, and potential for further improvement. Physical mediumship is a big challenge for the dominant worldview and conventional rational thinking. This makes it the perfect training field for scientists to remain flexible and don't fall prey to dogmas. The controversies on physical mediumship provide a view on the mechanics of all types of worldwide conflicts due to belief systems. It is not a prerequisite to prove the existence of certain phenomena before developing scientific theories about how they could be explained. Assuming physical mediumships to be true can be inspiring to push forward other areas of science. And mediumistic seances can be very interesting subject for the research on rituals, and research on physical mediumship can be a valuable contribution to consciousness research. And maybe here's an 8th principle. Maybe physical mediumship really means much more than today's orthodox science wants to accept, and it allows new insights into how our world might be functioning. His research is very interesting, and I want to share some results. He had done a research about several mediums, and on his website, on the right bottom, you can also read this in English, and it is understandable, I say so. So, for example, often we have in a seance so-called controls that are speaking to the mediums. And you know there are existing some persons who can, in Germany we call it belly speak. They have a puppet in your hand, in their hand, and then they form a voice and they don't move the lips. So it could be that the person imitates the voices, and he researched this in some ways. The human voice, or every single human, has a unique voice like a fingerprint. It has a special frequency. And on the first picture in the left corner, we see some controls that are speaking to Warren Kaler. And the pink mountain is the normal frequency of the voice of Warren Kaler. And when you see the other mountains, the controls are called Albert, Yellow Feather, and Tommy. They are very apart from the point of his own voice. And this is proof that you can't imitate, that these voices are not imitated by the medium. It's not possible because you can't disguise your own frequency. When you see the next picture on the right, there we have someone who is a ballet speaker with a puppet, a kangaroo, and it's Marc-Uwe Kling. And you see that when he speaks with the kangaroo voice, it is within his own voice frequency. So the next slide, there is a seance room, and he detected where the voices came from. And that is what he does. And he detected that the voices came from the middle or in front of the cabinet, not out of the medium. When you go on the bottom left, you see it's another medium. It's Michael Shane. And he is attached with motion sensors. So if the medium moves or try to get rid of any fixation, you would see this. And when you see the last picture, that is an infrared camera, and there you see the position of the medium. So you have the motion sensors and the infrared camera, and there you can absolutely exclude that the medium does any manipulation. It's very interesting. And when we come back to the middle of the picture, he's done a very interesting study. You can also look it up at his website about the Ouija board. He had a camera, and the camera was detecting the movements of people who are moving the planchette by will. And it was absolutely different in comparison when spirit is moving the planchette. It is much faster, so fast that you normally can't detect the letters, and there you can see a video on the homepage, and it's very, very interesting to read about the research about the Ouija board. So now we're going to move on. What is very interesting is the skull experiment. I think many of you have heard about that. There's a YouTube link. They have a fantastic website, and on the YouTube link you see a documentation about the skull experiment, and it was a group who has done experiments and was accompanied by scientists, and the things they found out and what all there happened is breathtaking. So I clearly recommend to watch the video and maybe the website. You want to know what is going on in Germany with physical mediumship? Well, not so much. There are many physical or some physical mediums that go on to the public, but we have a very famous one I want to introduce to you. It's Kai Mügge, and he's also the founder of the Felix Experimental Group, and he's also accompanied by scientists, and there are done some studies. There is a lot of documentation and videos, and also on his site, kaimügge.de, you find also the page to watch or to read and watch all this in English. And he offers seminars and workshops, and his story is very interesting. He started at the age of 12, and at the age of 15, Kai searches and researches for the first time the dynamics of the supernatural. And he founded experimental groups, and he tried out many things. I didn't attend to a séance and till now, but a friend of mine has, and it was very interesting. So that we have here in Germany. And there are many mediums, and you see the field is huge, and in England or in Great Britain you know more about this. In Germany we know a little about this. On the left side we have mediums that were working in the past, and on the right side we have mediums that are still working. Maybe you know Scott Milligan and Warren Kaler and Gary Mannion and David Thompson. And we have a physical medium in the Netherlands, it's Nicole de Haas, and in Switzerland it's Judith Fässler. And the list goes on. So now I want to talk about some of my interesting fields about experimental mediumship. And we have here the Ouija board, and when you're wondering what is this for a name, there is one explanation that is telling Ouija is a combination between the French oui and the German ja. So I have to do something with that. Interesting is it was patented by Elia Bond, the US inventor, in 1891. The patent was sold to William Fuld, who changed the design, and then sold the patent to the Parker brothers. And yes, this is a toy company. And you see on the bottom the picture, you can still buy this Ouija board in toy stores today. It's still available. It was very popular during the Civil War in the United States and the First War, where very much people died and a longing for communication came up. Many investigations have made. Again, I recommend the study of Eckhart Kruse, and he filmed the movements of the planchette and compared it with the movement by spirit. You can watch the video on the page. The next interesting field is table tipping, what is also a favorite of me. Meanwhile, I have around 5 tables, and this is a type of communication I mentioned. It's very old, and it is interesting when you work with a table. First, I thought, well, the table is tipping yes or no. Well, it's kind of boring. But when you work with a table, it will show emotion. You can have a different quality and intensity of the movement depending on the spirit and much more. It's very, very interesting. Also, with your mediumistic abilities, you get information in addition as well as images. I get information and I get pictures in my mind. Some often I know the answer before the table is moving. And you're not getting only contact to your loved ones, you can contact with your guide, your higher self, and much more entities. It's a huge field and it's very interesting, and it is very, very fun to work with this. I can recommend again here the book of Teresa Lelly. She's from USA, Table Tipping for Beginners, and it's very interesting. She is describing all the entities you can have contact with and how you can do it. What is special, I know we call it here, I live here near the Black Forest. We call it here the Black Forest writing table. Maybe you have seen this and heard another explanation. It is a writing table I built myself. It is a table with a pen in it, and you take a white sheet of paper, and it's like the planchette. You're placing the hands on it, and then it begins to write words and answer questions. It's a very interesting field. But it needs some time. The writing at the beginning is not so easy, but with the time, it's getting clearer. You have just to go 5 minutes, so thank you for your patience. Photography, very interesting, huge field. You can take photos in a cabinet in trance conditions with red light. I've done this in a course in experimental mediumship at the Arthur Findlay College. And you can photograph reflections in windows. You can do photos in a water bowl. And the spirit images like to reflect, and you can also use reflecting textiles or under the use of humidifiers. That's sounding very strange, but I come to that later. I just want to show you this are some pictures I've done at the Arthur Findlay College at a course I attended. And the first picture you see, this was Colin, and he went in the library in the morning and wanted to take a picture of him. And he was, very surprised about the result. You see him sitting and he is translucent. The next picture, you see some energy moving into the cabinet to the recipient or sitter. And the next picture is a lovely lady from the Netherlands, and you see on the left glass, you see a figure. And I can promise there is no one standing or reflecting in this glass, that this is a spirit. And it is interesting, we took several pictures of it, and she was moving her head and watching at us. So very interesting. The next is the water bowl. Well, you pour the water and then you make photos, and then you can see faces in the water. Very interesting. And here's again the next book tip: The Perfect Medium: Photography and the Occult. That's also a picture, a book with many pictures, very interesting. And now I have something what is really blowing you away. That leads us to Sonia Rinaldi from Brazil as a dedicated worker for spirit. Who is she? Well, I listened to Sarah Champlain. That is a lady from America, and she has a very interesting radio show. We Don't Die Radio. I can really recommend this. It's also on YouTube available. And she found Sonia Rinaldi, and Sonia is from Brazil. And she is a leading expert in the field of trans imaging, starting with reflecting foils and reflecting textiles. She got a blueprint to build a device through the control of the medium Scott Milligan. And on the website in English, you can see a over 2-hour documentation of her work with many pictures and demonstrations. And on her websites are thousands of trans images and videos. And she is now working with this new device. It is a humidifier where the spirits, trans images in the mist. Well, you can see it on your on their site. It's very interesting. And not to forget, a phone call away, the soul phone. I don't know if you heard of it. The soul phone refers to integrative technologies for communication with post-material, so-called deceased persons. Devices are being developed by Gary Schwartz and his team, and they started to develop. They started with the Soul Switch that is working. They are now working with the Soul Keyboard, and that leads to Soul Voice and Soul Video. So maybe in the future you are able to contact your loved ones with a phone call. It's very interesting. I have also the website on the bottom, and don't be afraid if you didn't got all the information. There's a replay of the video, so you can see all this informations. And of course, I have to talk about electronic voice and so much more. Spirit has learned, and now we come to the modern days, has learned to use electronic devices. It is common that spirit influences electricity, and that is what they can do really good. And in the early days, recording tape was used, and later in combination with a radio, what further developed to a spirit box that emitted white noise or rapid frequency change. And nowadays it's very common. They put a message on the computer or printer, and of course on your mobile or answering machine, television, computer screen. The possibilities are endless. So I learned very much stories about this, and I could talk for hours about it, but now we have to come to an end. And I just can encourage you to try out what is the best for you and make your own experiences. And I want to thank you for your attention and patience. And further questions are very welcome.
Robert, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So interesting. Thank you for sharing. I know everybody's been watching. Normally there's a bit of chatter going on in the chat bar, you know, people going, oh, hello, so and so. Nothing tonight. They're all just sat there riveted. So as Robert said, if you've got any questions, any points that he's raised, or indeed if you've got any questions yourself, please just put them into the comments box and we'll tackle those as they come up. I was fascinated by the humidifier because I can see how that works. You know, if you spray, well, like the kettle steam in a cold room.
Yeah. They trap this this mist in well, let me say a plastic Easter egg. Yeah. And then you can see images in this Easter egg. Well, just watch the website. You see the or the documentation. It's very, very interesting.
Definitely going to have a look at that. Definitely. There's another famous physical medium, Franek Kluski. I don't know if you've come across him at all. He was not very well reported, but there are a few videos about him. So interesting, the amount of phenomena that surrounded this guy all the time. I find it very interesting. You can sit to develop physical mediumship, and it's going to be a bit like playing the piano, let's be honest. You can have 1,000 people playing the piano, but only one of them is going to be a concert pianist. But I tend to see that physical mediums are not created, they just are, they exist, they're born, you know, and they come into it through that. Oh dear, we're frozen. La 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 la. There you go, physical mediumship, everybody. Oh no! Oh, he's back. Yeah, I do find that very interesting. That physical mediums are, as a result of these happenings around them, come into the movement rather than being in the movement and developing that on from there. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. I'm sitting in a little circle. We are 4 people, and we tried many things out with light, with red light, in the dark, with different music. The only thing what we discovered were light flashes, and we had some transcommunication. But when you hear about the story of Scott Milligan, he sat for over 2 years in his circle and before something happened. So that is the problem with the physical mediumship nowadays. You are so busy this times now. You have the TV, you have the mobile, and well, you have your family and your work. It's not easy to show this dedication that you sit every week with the same people and that for 1 or 2 years without something happening. That dedication, it's not easy to find, and that is a problem with physical mediumship.
Indeed, and for those watching, maybe not quite au fait with it, in a physical circle, you would be sitting to develop the medium. So you would have, say, 4 or 5 people just sending their energies to the physical medium in the circle. So it's not like a self-development circle where you go around everybody after and what did he get, you know, you're all there. So there would be, say, a group of 6 of us sat there in silence, giving our energy to Robert as the medium. This is another reason why physical mediumship is so difficult to set up and get going in this day and age. And also probably part of the reason why it was so prevalent at the beginning, because no offense, ladies stayed at home, they were at home all day. So they had that time and that place where they could all go and sit in circle. And it's about dedication, dedication, and dedication. There is no quick fix. Here we go. We have a question. Lovely Ruth Jo. Hello, Ruth, sweetie. I hope you're all right. Are there any risks to physical mediums?
Yes, there are. It is when we talk about ectoplasm that can only produce in the dark because it is very sensitive to light. There were several investigations about the substance, and what they found were cells, liquids from the medium. It's kind of a bodily fluid. And there were many occasions where someone comes in a room and switched on the light, and the mediums were burnt. And I seen a talk of Scott Milligan, and he was showing pictures of him. He had a seance where someone switched on the light, and what you were seeing, that there were some ectoplasm rods were holding two trumpets, and when the light switches on, they rapidly went back to the medium, and his belly was burned. So you could see the how you say, the bladder, and the red skin, and there.
So we've frozen a little bit there, folks. But we are doing well. Dr. Robert actually is broadcasting from Germany tonight. Oh, there we go. And we're back again. Yes,
Okay.
very interesting. That.
Many people recommend today to work in the light. There is Tim Smith. He is also a tutor at the Arthur College, and he has done a wonderful lecture about the mediumship in the 21st century. And he says the spirit world has developed, and they use now electronic communication, and they also can manifest such things in the light. And he told of a seance in the light where a forearm with a hand was falling his hand. So it was very interesting. It is possible to develop this in the light. And Warren Kaler, for example, uses blue light in the moment. Because, well, ectoplasm, you have to be a fan of it. But there's so much more. It don't has to be ectoplasm.
Yes, very true, very true. So the lovely Sue Townsend, and she's asking, have they investigated how a physical medium's own body may draw this type of mediumship or phenomena towards them? So what she's asking is, we're all energy, so if we're all energy, is it a certain type of energy that resonates better with the physical mediumship side?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is actually. Sue's lovely. She does come out with great
Yeah.
questions.
It's interesting. It can be that that the body is yeah special. Yeah, you can a body of someone better use than the other one. It
Yeah,
is possible. Yes. Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
My mind goes along the line of, when we get like, we meet somebody and I know you. We've
Yeah.
never met before, but I know you. There's just that compatibility, and it's just there. So if we have experience and understand that, so when spirit work with certain people, yeah, how interesting. Well done, Sue. There you go. You can write a thesis now. Off you go, girl. Right. Does ectoplasm show up on an infrared scale?
Yeah, I think so. We had some we have some pictures of Kai Mücke in infrared.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that, I think ectoplasm will show up on whatever. I did see. I've sat with a couple of physical mediums in my time. Both of those were working in not dark but subdued lighting, and it was just there. From the naked eye, you could just see the formulation of it start, and I was like, wow. No more questions at the moment. If anybody else got a question, please be quick, get in there typing away. Really, and how long have you been interested in the physical side, Robert?
Yeah, right from the beginning.
Okay.
I told you when I started my studies, I can say it was about 7 years ago. The first what I wanted to do was this experimental mediumship course at the Arthur Findlay College, and I found this and I thought, well, this is the right thing for me. I can do experiments and get proof. And after that, I was a believer. So we've done so much experiments, and yeah, after that, I not.
The whoops. The potential there for future use. I mean, we already have it within spiritualism, the philosophy to help us to grow and develop in this life, in our own worlds, in this world at this time. But it does, your mind does wander to how physical mediumship could also play a part in developing anything for the benefit of mankind, not just as, I don't mean this disrespectfully when I say a show, a display, to sit in a circle and see that. I fully understand all the work, the training, the effort, and everything that's gone into create that moment. But something more permanent, will physical mediumship be able to be utilized in the creation of machinery or software or things like that? Just interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's interesting. When you to communication.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Robert. We lost nearly 99% of what you just said there. But there was one very interesting part, actually, because it wasn't your face. I was looking, thinking that's not him. And finally, from Sweden. Oh, we've gone. Oh, bottoms. Well, ladies and gents, it looks like we've lost the communication with Robert. I'll just keep yittering a little bit in case he can come back. Oh, here we go. I love that noise. There you go. You disappeared for a second there, Robert.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So we have another
good
question. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the question, and I'm sure this is formulated on a lot of people's minds, where the connection with wrongdoings and Ouija boards are very prominent in people.
Yeah. This is again, physical mediumship is nothing to play around with. I am not. I don't like this. If you make a joke of it, and you have a responsibility when you use these tools, and you have to show a respect to the spirit world, because you are dealing with an intelligence or with your relative, and they want to be treated like they are treated when they were alive. And what you tell about is especially when teenies or children try to use this and for joke, and I would never ask the question when I'm gonna die or something. You can. Yeah, there are dangers. You have to be respectful to it and use it with responsibility. That is it. Evil spirits. Well, are there existing evil spirits? I don't know. I think the evil is on earth and not in the spirit world.
Yeah. Two very interesting points you brought up there, and we could do another two evenings of those. My view, fully supportive what you're saying. When we deal with spirit, we're dealing with an intelligence. It is not a sideshow. It is not something it's not a performing dog. It's an intelligence, and as we grow up physically in life, we learn life skills with people. You wouldn't put a 2-year-old in a pub trying to talk to people, because it's totally wrong. Spiritually, we do that. We go into talking to spirit as you would do 2-year-olds talking to a grown-up. Depending on their level of development, the word evil is subjective to everybody's own idea, but exactly the same as in the physical world, you're going to get some people that will look after you and shield you and keep you safe, and you'll get other people who will do exactly the opposite. So yeah,
you have to develop different skills when you're working with it. For example, control questions. When somebody when someone pretend to be my father, then you can ask control questions, information that the spirit can't have. So or to have the right connection.
Definitely. Robert, I'm afraid I think we better call it a night, sir, because your connection.
For example, and when when you are a medium, you feel the right connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Yeah, this is yeah. I can feel it if I work with the right person. So
Yeah, you do. You know you're right, and even though the sitter may be a bit hesitant on taking it, you just think, no, I'm right. And then invariably later on they come back and say, do you know what, you were right? And you go, yeah, surprise.
yeah,
Robert's
yeah,
Robert's
yeah.
beautiful evening. Sadly, technology is failing us both at this time a little bit, which is rather irritating. However, I just want to thank you for putting that evening together for us. It was really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Followed it all the way through. I will be going back on the catch up and start looking at some of those websites. So thank you so much for your time tonight. And I'm sure everybody here will reflect that warmest wishes to you and your family at this time, and hope that you remain safe, healthy, and well. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. I know there's a couple of questions didn't get touched upon there, but don't worry. Later date, you never know. You never know. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, for our divine service with Sarah Birch. And then Monday evening, we have meditation. Oh, we've got a special on this week. Wednesday night, we're doing a live gong bath. The lovely Scania, and that will be broadcast onto the church Facebook page and her own webs. Oh, I'm not sure about the church Facebook page. I think it's live on her website, but it's going to be totally free. So please join us for that. Enjoy the rest of the solstice, everybody. Good night and thank you.